You have to recognize that on a family basis, on a private level family basis, you have to be an economic unit.
All right. So without getting too far into details, maybe like a 30,000-foot overview, like what are like 2 or 3 of the strategies that we should be using to be our own banker? Or is it even possible to do it with only 2 or 3? Do you have to have the whole thing together? How does this work?
Okay. There are 3 things you have to follow, and everybody's heard these, but it's still true. It's called the 10% rule. You always pay yourself right off the top 10%. If you don't do that, then you're stealing from yourselves. The whole purpose of using that money is to put it to work. But most of the time, people will take that 10%, they pay themselves, but then there's always this outstanding bill that they've got to pay because it's due right now. And they pass up the beautiful opportunity of putting that money to work. Instead of paying for the bill, what if you employed the money and financed the bill? What type of earnings would you want on that, high or low? You could charge as much interest as you wanted on that loan, as long as it fits your budget. You don't care how long it takes to pay back. You care if your money's working. And it's in an environment now that can't be taxed. So that's one. Number 2, and you've heard this a million times, never, ever, ever spend principal. Rule number 2 from Warren Buffett on that says, don't even contemplate breaking rule number 1. It's so important. You can't spend principal and expect to get ahead because you've got to go replace it. But yet, our whole lives and everyone around us only spends principal. Would you be shocked if I told you it won't even take 20 minutes to convert people to never having to spend principal again? They'll get it, but it will be a choice. You either want to do it or you don't. And then the third, and you've heard this before, always follow a well-constructed written financial plan and update it regularly. So we incorporate that and we set that up so it's something that the client wants to do because the banking, the possibilities are limitless. It fits exactly your footprint, the way you want to live your life. But again, at the end of the day, who's going to end up with the money? We say you should end up with the money. You should get it back. So you have to recognize that on a family basis, on a private level family basis, you have to be an economic unit. You have to be a business. The number 1 reason that businesses fail is because the owners steal from their own business. Perfect example might be like a welding company. We build trailers. Hey, well, I could build myself a trailer at no cost or just the cost of parts. And we wonder why our business fails. The number 1 reason businesses fail is because they themselves don't value their company enough to pay top dollar, top price, like a grocery store. These are all found in Nelson Nash's book. There's some great reasoning behind it. There's some rules and some laws. Parkinson's law is one that goes into you have to live on less than you bring home. That goes into the 10% rule. And several things that we have to beat or conquer almost every day of our lives in order to get out ahead. Those people who can conquer that win by default because nobody else can do it. So those are the 3 main things that we bring back into people's lives. Then we show them how to set it up and run it. So that's
Okay,
probably the
so
best example.
yeah, so essentially, and I'm assuming the vehicle that you guys are using to do this would be like the life insurance, infinite banking.
Yeah, there's a special
Policy.
contract out there that was developed years ago before we had regular banking. Life insurance took that function on themselves and they created a contract. Well, they eradicated the idea even away from the life insurance companies until Nelson brought it back. And we have all these meetings with the carriers saying, do you know why you came into existence? Here's why. This is why these are participating mutual whole life insurance carriers that have this contract, and they still have that contract. It still exists today, but it has to be put together to form the perfect private bank, and it will. Guarantees, all kinds of things to easily equal the market out there. So, yeah, it's a special contract. So, when we set these up, it's not setting up life insurance. We don't care about the death benefit.
Right.
We need the contract so that you can function that to put money in, store it on shelves, earn a good interest rate, then pull it out and finance your way through life. That's another important rule here. We all have to recognize that we finance every single thing we buy. If we pay cash for it, we give up the earnings it could have made for the rest of our life, right?
That's an interesting idea.
Yeah. Or we borrow money from someone else and we have to pay them interest. If we recognize that, which we're taught not to, see, this is the problem. This is new to some people, but we do. We finance everything. It's called EVA, the extra value added
Yeah.
that
It's the opportunity
Coca-Cola,
cost.
yeah, so that save Coca-Cola and everybody else. It's exactly that. But we have to do that in our family on a family basis. We have to recognize we don't go home and not be in business. We go home and run our personal private economy. Once we realize that and we finance everything, everything starts coming into line.